The goal of any NFL franchise is to win a championship.
We could win it all.
Some teams are better at that than others. Whether teams draft well, build dynasties, have legendary coaches, have historic offenses or defenses, get hot at the right time, or just get plain lucky. 20 of the 32 NFL teams have won a Super Bowl. We're no mathematicians, but that leaves 12 teams who haven't tasted a Super Bowl victory. As we head into the 2023-24 playoffs, there are 4 teams who have never won the Super Bowl with a chance to claim their first in the tournament. If you're a fan of any of those teams on this list, hopefully it's outdated by February.
I hope you're wrong.
A quick word about how we ranked the 12 teams. We have ranked these in order of how close we feel they were to winning a Super Bowl. Feel free to leave a comment about what you think the order should be and why. The first 4 teams are easy to determine, but the order might be different for you. But they're the only teams to not even play in a Super Bowl.
Not one.
As far as the last 8, they all have made it at least once. The more times a team has made it and the closer they were to winning, the better position on this list. So 8 teams have gotten close to hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, but what went wrong? Find out as we examine the 12 NFL teams to never win a Super Bowl so far. I'm Kyle from Dapper Moose Entertainment, and let's tackle some football. Number 12, the Houston Texans. The youngest team in the NFL has had the fewest number of chances to win a Super Bowl compared to the other teams on our list, obviously. And that's the Houston Texans, who started playing in 2002. For being the newest team, the Texans have had some playoff experience.
Playoffs?
Making the postseason 7 times, including the 2023 season. But they have not yet made it to the AFC Championship. 9 years after their debut, Houston secured its first playoff berth, marking a significant milestone. That 2011 team, guided by coach Gary Kubiak, also went on to win their first playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals with a convincing 31-10 victory in the wild card round. The following year, the Texans once again eliminated the Bengals, with their J.J. Watt-led defense holding Cincinnati to just 207 total yards, winning 19-3. Houston advanced to the divisional round but was bounced by the New England Patriots. Houston also made the playoffs in 2015, 16, 18, and 19, but has come up short of the AFC title game. Despite facing challenges, Houston continues to strive for success, aiming to break through and secure a Super Bowl victory. Who knows? Maybe this will be their year.
This is our year!
Number 11, the Detroit Lions. Let's face it, the Lions almost got the bottom spot on the list, but we'll give that spot to the new kids on the block. The Detroit Lions have a limited playoff history during the Super Bowl era. They have made the playoffs 12 times during that stretch, but have faced challenges in advancing. The Lions have not reached the Super Bowl and are the only NFC team to never appear in one.
Never, never, never.
The struggle hasn't been just making it to the Super Bowl, but it has been a challenge to win a playoff game. If the Lions win a playoff game this season, it will be their first since 1991. Coincidentally, that season was the closest the Lions have gotten to making a Super Bowl, as they have a paltry 1-12 record in the postseason during the Super Bowl era. Coached by Wayne Fontes, led by Barry Sanders and a stout defense, the 1991 Lions went 12-4 and reached their only NFC Championship game by crushing the Dallas Cowboys 38-6 in the divisional round. However, they were defeated 41-10 by the Washington Redskins, the eventual Super Bowl champion, and have remained stuck with only one win. Since their last win, the Lions have made the playoffs 9 times, counting the season still in progress as of this recording. Number 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars are tied for the second youngest team in the NFL. They, and another team that will make an appearance later on this list, began in 1995. So, after the Texans, they have the least amount of time to win a Super Bowl compared to the other team.
So young.
It's not like Jacksonville hasn't had some good teams or made some deep postseason runs, but it has been a mixed bag for the Jags over the years. In their early years, the Jags quickly established themselves as a formidable force in the league. Led by quarterback Mark Brunell and coach Tom Coughlin, the team made a remarkable run to the playoffs in 4 of their first 5 seasons. The pinnacle of their early success came in 1996 when they reached the AFC Championship game, but fell short of a Super Bowl appearance in their second year of existence. In all, the Jags have appeared in 3 AFC Championship games, losing twice to New England in the 1996 and 2017 season, and once to Tennessee in 1999. In between those runs, there have been some dark times in Jacksonville. The team faced a playoff drought from 2000 to 2004, and has faced many ups and downs since entering the league. In recent years, the Jags have been rebuilding. The squad made the playoffs in the 22-23 season and are hoping to return next season.
Who shall return?
Number 9, the Cleveland Browns. When you think of historically bad teams, the Cleveland Browns often come to mind. During the 23 season, the Browns are in the playoffs for the 3rd time since returning to the league in 1999. On a related note, if you'd like to see a video about NFL teams moving cities, please comment below. Since Cleveland has a reputation for being a losing franchise in recent years and haven't won a Super Bowl, why aren't they higher on the list? The Browns have been to 5 AFC Championship games during the Super Bowl era and lost them all.
All of them?
All of them.
In the mid to late 1980s, the Browns were a constant threat to make the playoffs and challenge for a spot in the Super Bowl. They made 3 AFC Championship games in the 80s, but they lost to the Denver Broncos all 3 times, in 1986, 87, and 89. Just how close were the Browns to making a Super Bowl? 5 minutes and 32 seconds. That's closer than any of the previously mentioned teams. Cleveland's heartbreaking loss to Denver in 1987 is so epic that it is known by 2 words: the drive. That's when down 20-13, Broncos quarterback John Elway led his team on a 98-yard drive against the Browns in the 4th quarter of the AFC Championship. A touchdown pass to Mark Jackson sealed the drive and forced the game into overtime, where Denver won 23-20. Since Cleveland's run of making the playoffs in the 80s, the outlook has been bleak. The Browns had made the playoffs once in the 90s and the 2000s, 1994 and 2002 respectively, and not again until 2020. Maybe this year's trip to the playoffs will be the first of many. Only time will tell.
Time will tell.
Number 8, the LA/San Diego Chargers. Bouncing between San Diego and LA, the Chargers have been searching for a permanent home since their inception. They have also been searching for a Super Bowl, with 1 trip to the big game and 4 trips to the AFC Championship. After making the playoffs for the first time in the Super Bowl era, in 1979, the high-powered Air Coryell offense, led by Hall of Famer Dan Fouts, made it to the AFC Championship in the 1980 and 81 seasons. In all, the Chargers made the playoffs 4 consecutive seasons. After that, there's a 10-year gap between playoff appearances. The Chargers' fortunes changed in 1994 as they reached the Super Bowl for the first time, defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship. Unfortunately, San Diego at the time ran into a buzzsaw in Super Bowl 29. The San Francisco 49ers dominated the game, beating the Chargers 49-26. That team was stacked, and Steve Young had a historic performance, throwing a Super Bowl record 6 touchdown passes en route to MVP. His favorite target, Jerry Rice, also played a crucial role, catching 3 of those touchdown passes, securing San Fran's 5th Super Bowl title. The Chargers haven't returned to the Super Bowl since 1994, but their teams from 2004 to 2009 played a total of 6 playoff games during that stretch, led by Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Antonio Gates. That Chargers team was the last to reach an AFC championship, losing to the New England Patriots 21-12. Will the Chargers go more than 20 years without a Super Bowl appearance? We'll find out over the next few years.
20 years?
Number 7, the Arizona/St. Louis Cardinals. There's certainly a lot of heartbreak on this list, and there are teams with more chances to win a championship than others. The now Arizona Cardinals are the NFL's oldest team, but they don't have any Super Bowl titles to show for it. In fact, the first time the Cardinals made the playoffs in the Super Bowl era was in 1974, when they were the St. Louis Cardinals. While in St. Louis, the football Cardinals only made the playoffs 3 times, but they failed to advance past the first round. After the Cardinals traded the Gateway Arch for the Grand Canyon in 1987, they didn't make the playoffs until 11 years later. That season, they downed the Dallas Cowboys 20-7 and won a playoff game for the first time since 1947.
Has it been that long?
The Cardinals' most successful season was in 2008 when they went 9-7. Wait, 9-7. That season, the NFC West wasn't particularly strong, so Arizona claimed the division, winning 9 games. Despite having the worst record of any NFC team in the playoffs, the Cardinals went on a memorable run that Cinderella would have been proud of, and earned a trip to their first Super Bowl. The Cardinals faced the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 43, but a remarkable catch by MVP Santonio Holmes with 35 seconds remaining brought a 6th Lombardi trophy to the Steel City. Since their Super Bowl berth, the Cardinals have been only in one other NFC Championship game, when they lost to the Carolina Panthers 49-15 during the 2015 season. But since Arizona missed the playoffs this year, they'll have to wait another season to try to change that.
We can always do better.
Number 6, the Carolina Panthers. Alright, so you could make an argument that Arizona and Carolina could be flipped, but the reason we gave Carolina the edge here is because they have had more postseason success in a shorter period of time and made it to 2 Super Bowls. If you feel like Arizona losing with 35 seconds left in a game means they were closer to winning a Super Bowl, we can't fault you for that. Overall, the Panthers are 9-8 in the playoffs. Carolina made it to the NFC Championship game in their second season of existence, just like the Jags did, but lost to the Brett Favre-led Packers 30-13. In the team's second playoff appearance, the Panthers clawed their way past the Philadelphia Eagles 13-3 en route to their first Super Bowl in 2003. Jake Delhomme and the upstart Panthers took on the New England Patriots led by Tom Brady in his 3rd year in the league at the time. The Patriots proved to be too powerful for the Panthers and claimed their 2nd Lombardi trophy in 3 years, winning 32-29. 2 seasons later, Carolina was back in the NFC Championship, but the Seattle Seahawks smashed them 34-14. It wasn't until Cam Newton and company came along in 2015 that Carolina returned to the NFC Championship, pummeling the previously mentioned Cardinals 49-15. The Panthers met up with Peyton Manning's Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 50. However, it was Denver's defense that really made the difference in a 24-10 win over Carolina. As of this recording, Carolina has not been to the Super Bowl or conference championship since.
We need to go back.
A word of warning, from this point on, if you're a fan of the remaining 5 teams, what you hear might crush your soul.
Soul crushing, frankly.
Number 5, the Tennessee Titans/Houston Oilers. 1 yard. Sometimes that's all it takes in football. For the Tennessee Titans in 1999, that 1 yard was the difference between victory and defeat. St. Louis and the greatest show on turf was in full gear and took down the Titans 23-16 in a battle that would have been either team's first Super Bowl win. Despite a late drive that put a scare into the Rams, Steve McNair's last-second pass to Kevin Dyson couldn't cross the goal line. It's harder to get close to winning a Super Bowl than that, but the loss to Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, and Isaac Bruce was as close as the Tennessee Titans/Houston Oilers franchise have gotten.
And we were so close.
Counting the 1999 AFC Championship win over Jacksonville to make it to the Super Bowl, the Titans/Oilers are 1-5 in conference title games. As the Oilers, the franchise lost the AFC title game to Oakland in 1967 and in back-to-back years to the Steelers in 78 and 79. In addition to making the 1999 AFC title game, the Titans reached the conference championship in 2002 and 2019, losing to the Raiders and the Chiefs respectively. The Titans will work on ending a 2-year playoff drought next season.
There's a drought and there's a drought.
Number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. Coming up 1 yard short of a Super Bowl win is rough, but blowing a 25-point lead hurts on a different level. The Atlanta Falcons know from experience, dude. In 2016, in their second Super Bowl appearance in history, they were leading the New England Patriots 28-3 late in the third quarter of Super Bowl 51. What happened next was the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history as the Patriots mounted 5 unanswered scoring drives in the last 20 minutes and overtime to win 34-28. A historically difficult pill to swallow, 2016 was as close as Atlanta has gotten to winning a Super Bowl.
You blew it!
In their only other Super Bowl appearance, the Falcons lost in 1998 to the defending champion Denver Broncos 34-19. John Elway and Terrell Davis topped former coach Dan Reeves, Chris Chandler, and Jamal Anderson's Dirty Birds. Speaking of birds, the Falcons have also lost 2 NFC Championship games in their history, one in 2004 to the Philadelphia Eagles, and the other was in 2012 to the San Francisco 49ers.
So you get nothing!
Number 3, the Cincinnati Bengals. The saying, "the third time's a charm," is a popular one, but that doesn't mean it's always true. The Cincinnati Bengals know that firsthand. They have the second most appearances of any team to not have won a Super Bowl, with 3. The trio of games have been relatively close, with Cincinnati losing each one by 5 points or less to a team from California. Founded in 1968, the Bengals didn't make their first Super Bowl until 1981. Under Coach Forrest Gregg and quarterback Ken Anderson, Cincinnati met the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 16. In the first Super Bowl for either team, the Bengals fell down 20-0 to Joe Montana's team before scoring 14 straight points in the third quarter to mount a comeback. Ultimately, the Bengals fell short 26-21 as San Fran claimed their first championship. 7 seasons later, the two teams faced off in an epic rematch. Again! The tables were turned a bit in Super Bowl 23, and it was the 49ers who had to rally. The Bengals were up 16-13 in the fourth quarter after an electrifying kickoff return by Stanford Jennings. Much to the dismay of Bengals fans, Montana orchestrated a patented comeback, finding John Taylor for a late touchdown to win 20-16. Cincinnati went through some hard times in the decades following, making the postseason just 7 times from 1991 to 2020, and during that stretch, any time they did make the playoffs, they lost in their first game. During a magical 2021 season, the Bengals not only won their first playoff game in 31 years, they made a run all the way to Super Bowl 56. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor, quarterback Joe Burrow, and wide receiver Jamar Chase led the team against the LA Rams. Cincinnati fell short as the Rams scored a late TD in the second half and held the Bengals off the scoreboard on the final drive of the game to win 23-20. With many parts in place for more playoff runs in the foreseeable future, the Bengals are in prime position to claim their first championship in the years to come. Number 2, the Minnesota Vikings. The two teams at the top or bottom of our list, depending on your perspective, each have made it to and lost 4 Super Bowls. While heart-wrenching for Minnesota in its own right to go to 4 and walk away empty-handed, the closest the Vikings got to winning was a 10-point loss. But before we get to that loss, let's go back to the beginning. Minnesota's first appearance was Super Bowl 4 against the Chiefs, with Hall of Famers Hank Stram coaching and Len Dawson under center, and they vexed the Vikings 23-7. 4 years later, the Miami Dolphins won their second straight Super Bowl to cap off the 1973 season by downing the Vikings 24-7. The next season, Minnesota returned to the Super Bowl for the third time in 6 years. The Vikings met the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl IX, losing their closest game to Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, and the Steel Curtain defense, 16-6. It has been a long time since the Vikings were in a Super Bowl.
A long time.
The last trip was a 32-14 loss to the Raiders in Super Bowl XI to crown the champion of the 1976 season. The closest Minnesota has gotten back to the big game since then has been 3 visits to the NFC Championship game. In 1998 and 2009, the Vikings lost nail-biters in overtime to Atlanta and then New Orleans. The last conference title game for the Vikings was in 2017 when they got trounced by the Philadelphia Eagles 38-7. So who has had worse luck winning Super Bowls than the Minnesota Vikings? Number 1, the Buffalo Bills. Between number of trips to the Super Bowl and the way they've lost those games, the Buffalo Bills have definitely earned the number 1 spot on our list. The Bills not only lost 4 Super Bowls like Minnesota, but theirs were consecutive. Then couple that with their maddening experience in their first Super Bowl trip, and you can feel Buffalo's pain.
It hurts.
Do the words wide right ring a bell? For Bills fans they do, and they hurt. The Bills took on the New York Giants in Super Bowl 25. The Bills had a chance to win on a last-second field goal by kicker Scott Norwood, but the ball sailed outside of the right upright and the Giants won 20-19. Since missing the winning kick, Norwood has shouldered the burden for Buffalo's loss. He became the Bill Buckner of the NFL, to borrow a dated baseball reference. After that gut-wrenching 1-point loss, Buffalo never got that close again. A year later, Joe Gibbs, Mark Rypien, and Washington beat Marv Levy, Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, and the Bills 37-24. Not even NFL MVP Thurman Thomas could save them in Super Bowl 26. Speaking of Thurman Thomas, make sure to check out our video about the last 10 non-quarterbacks to win NFL MVP. Anyway, back to wrapping up this list. The next 2 seasons, in Super Bowl 27 and 28, the Bills took on the Dallas Cowboys. Jimmy Johnson's squad demolished Buffalo 52-17 the first time around. A year later, the game was closer, but the Cowboys claimed a second straight Super Bowl, handling the Bills 30-13. For 17 years, the Bills were in a playoff drought. It took until 2020 when they made the AFC Championship game to win a playoff game, beating the Colts and the Ravens before getting knocked off by the Chiefs. Since then, the Bills have been consistently one of the AFC's top teams. Buffalo has a legitimate shot to remove themselves from this list and claim a Lombardi trophy. Who knows? It might even be this year.
I don't know about that.
That's our list. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? What do you think? Tell us in the comments and let us know. This has been Tackling Football presented by Dapper Moose Entertainment. Please like, share, and subscribe. We truly appreciate your support. See you next time. Changing the game.